painted our words, we painted our back, and now we'll paint our pineapple. So to do our pineapple, we're just gonna do yellow on the bottom, green on top. Simple as that. If you don't have green, we're gonna make green using yellow and blue. So I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. And I am just going to, as I paint my pineapple, I keep on wanting to say pumpkin. As I paint my pineapple, I'm gonna use yellow and I'm gonna mix a little white in as well, because you're gonna need a couple of coats. So I'm gonna put one coat, dry it off for a second. It's almost finished drying. I'm gonna put a second coat. I'm gonna do the edges as well. So coat 2 is done. I'm gonna go up into my leaves a little. And we might have to come back and do a third coat or so. I'm gonna put a little more yellow on it right now. But we'll move on to our green. So in my palette, I'm just using a palette. You could use a paper plate. I'm just making a little green. So to some yellow, I'm just gonna add a little bit of blue. Don't use all your yellow, because you might need your yellow again. So I'm gonna make like a darker green. And then I'm just going to paint my leaves. I'm gonna stay up top, and then very carefully, I'm gonna get close to I'm gonna try and make like a leaf line up here. I'm gonna do my edges too. Go back, put a second coat on. While that's still wet, I'm gonna make even a darker green. You could add a teeny bit of black into it as well. And I'm gonna add some darker green, just like little bits. We want it to look like textured almost. So you want lots of colors to come through. I'm just putting some yellow on top. I'm putting like a lot of paint, as you could tell, on there. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry for a couple minutes. As that's drying, I'm going to get my board in front of me because I'm going to do some dry brushing on my board. So there's my pineapple top. I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add some white streaks to it. It's called dry brushing. So I have a pretty much dry brush. I'm going to get some white. I have to get a new pile of white. So I'm going to wash my brush because I just put some. So dry brushing is a dry brush, a dry board, and a little tiny bit of paint. So I have a clean brush. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of paint at the end. I'm gonna even take some of that paint off on my paper that I have here. Like, you want a tiny bit of paint. The less paint, the better. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go left to right from the edges. I'm just gonna add some white streaks into my background. If for some reason you go too heavy, you could always go back with brown and put some brown on top. This just makes our background just a little more interesting. And you could always build upon, so So you want the less paint, the better. You could always build upon the streaks. It's harder to take away some of the dark streaks, so be very light with your touch. A little bit of paint to get a nice light strokes. But if you want to put heavy strokes on it too, you can, because I think it looks good against the black letters as well. So I'm going to put that aside now. I'm going to get like my little pineapple. I'm going to dry brush. Make sure your brush is clean. I'm going to put some white around the edges of my yellow pineapple. I'm not going to do any cross lines. You can if you like, but I find it too difficult sometimes. Put a little white around the edges, and I'm just going to brush some white into some of my leaves as well. I think that looks good. So I'm going to let everything dry right now.